What is up, everyone? So, there have been several questions over the course of this channel around how many hours I am actually spending drawing to improve. For example, one was from Nicholas Jones. He said, I just started drawing a month ago and I feel like I can't even draw a cylinder properly. How much time have you been practicing a day? What do you think is a good starting point? So that is a really good question. Another one from Manajo. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but they said, "You said you have been drawing a crazy amount," which I have said. Can you share how much? I'm not asking this to compare or to say to myself that if I draw this amount, I'll get good. I'm actually asking because you said the internet has a way of hiding away the hard work that's being done, and it would be nice to have a realistic answer for a change. Also, great work on the video. Keep up the good work. Uh, well, thanks. I appreciate that. And these are two really great questions. Uh, when I was starting out, I actually listened to a lot of videos around how fast you can improve, how many hours, and things like that as well. So I feel you. I feel you. Kind of nerd out on those details as well. Even though I knew that everybody's experience would be different, and so it wouldn't be an exact match, but still, it was just fun and interesting to find out anyway. So I'm going to be diving into um, basically my experience with how much hours I'm putting in, how consistent I'm being, and really what have I found in terms of how this relates to progress for me. And again, just sharing my progress, you may have a different experience because everyone is different, but this is just as what I have found. But first of all, uh, the drawing that you're seeing taking place is actually a drawing from that I am doing from a book that I picked up from the library. Actually, went to the library with my kids and found this book, Mastering Fantasy Art: Drawing Dynamic Characters by John Stanko. Um, and I was just floored by this book and had to get it and had to start drawing from it. So I actually planned in this video, it's just the pencils. That's actually going to be just the under pencils for the ink that I'm gonna do over the top of it. So it's not quite as tightly penciled as I would. I mean, it's pretty tight, but it's not complete. I'm gonna come over the top in the next video with ink, and in the next video after that, I plan to also do alcohol markers. So I'm doing this on marker paper, and this is a part of experimenting and learning that I am continuing to do. So I'm planning to do alcohol markers on top of this as well. so so that's probably going to be the next two videos, and we'll likely cover some topics and questions as well that have come up. So if you have questions, topics that you like to talk about, or just want to wish me luck in this another experiment, let me know in the comments. I read every comment, and I love hearing from you all. So let me know. All right, so let's dive into this. First of all, let's get the elephant out of the room. How much time am I actually spending drawing? This question requires a little bit of nuance because last year and right now are two totally different beasts. Last year, when I started, I was literally drawing almost every day, and when I say almost every day, I mean for most weeks I was not missing a single day of drawing. So maybe missing 2 to 3, probably at most, days per month drawing, and on those days drawing at least 2 hours on the weekdays, and on weekends probably 4 plus hours, right? so so that's when I say it's a crazy amount of drawing. It's not that I'm saying, oh, I'm sitting down and drawing 8 hours a day. As you know, or as some of you know, I have a job, a full-time job. I'm not planning to do this as a career. It's a hobby for me. Um, and so, yeah, squeezing in all of those hours, um, and really the consistency of it. So it's not really sitting down 8 hours a day and saying, oh, that's a crazy amount because I'm doing 8 hours every day. It's when you have that amount of hours and doing it that consistently, it becomes a really major part of your life, right? I mean, it really becomes a major part of your life. Um, is that a good starting point for people, or someone starting out as a hobby, somebody learning? Well, it might not be ideal for everyone, and this is where I'm gonna get a little real here in terms of pulling back that veil of what we see on the internet, um, and reality, right? Uh, so, for some people, you may be saying, "Yeah, I really wish I had that amount of time to commit," and yeah, you actually might not have that amount of time. Um, yeah, my life during that point was in a position where I had a lot of free time. I am married with kids, um, but yeah, I was trying to figure out how much to say here. Let's just say that, um, I was in a position where I had free time. My wife was working in a different location, um, and so I had more time to myself, and so I took up drawing. Um, Became a real place for comfort for me, um, after I got past the frustration. Talked, I've talked quite a bit about my crazy frustration in the beginning, and how I eventually got over that. So I won't talk about that today, but once I got past the frustration and started enjoying drawing, it really became something that I could use to occupy my time and get me through those I'd say tougher times, right? And so, is this a good starting point for everyone? Well, I wouldn't want you to be in a position where where things aren't going exactly as you planned in life, but again, it really depends on you and how much time you have, um, what your starting point is going to be, and I'll talk a little bit more about the starting point, um, coming up. But yeah, life was a little bit different, then. Um, what about right now? So right now, life is has been crazy again, in good and bad ways. Um, and so I have been spending a lot more time coming around to summer now, um, going out with the family, kids, even creating these videos and learning how to create videos for YouTube, learning how to create thumbnails. This is all good and great, but doing that additional learning also takes away from the time you have to draw. So right now I could be drawing, but I'm talking, which I talking about drawing. So I still really love this part, and I really love connecting with you all as well. I think it's a part of what keeps me going as well, and I hope I'm doing the same thing for you all in terms of encouraging you to keep on going and being able to see the progress that I'm making. Uh, so yeah, but there's been work that's gotten crazy with after hours work. I work in the tech field, and lately there's been more updates after hours, more upgrades, um, and so I'm currently not doing the same amount of hours as I was last year, and even right at the beginning of this year. And it's also been struggling with um, getting content out consistently because again this takes work, so there are quite a few projects that I'm working on here, and I will get them out. I mean, you all are who I share my work with. But all right, so I'm saying all of that, I am missing more days right now, but that's just how life goes. There are some days I get in a ton of drawing, some days less. This drawing took about 3 hours to do, and I did it all in one day. So, again, that was one of those times where I was on a weekday with 2+ hours of drawing. Um, yeah, so that's just how life goes. But one of the things that I am excited about what's happening right now is that my kids have actually started drawing as well. My oldest, who is 13, she's actually drawing pretty consistently right now, and so sometimes we just put on some lo-fi music and just sit down and draw together, and that is pretty cool. We've also I have two daughters, so I also get some opportunities to go to art stores with them, and sometimes we don't buy anything, but it's sometimes good to window shop, and sometimes we do pick out things, and we've picked out sketchbooks together even, and yes, I have actually bought an actual sketchbook. Um, so so at some point you will be seeing that because I actually have a sketchbook now. But that's for another video. So yeah, the hours kind of that I've been putting in, and I wish I had tracked all the actual hours that I was doing. I could do some cool thing like, hey, I've hit my 10,000 hours, and here's where I am. But I didn't do that. And for part of that, I'm sad, but part of that, I'm also glad, right? Uh, because I'm also becoming mindful of like how what I am doing is affecting what other people feel they have to do in order to see progress. And what I'm finding out is that it's not all about the hours. In the beginning, a lot of the hours was just out of this feeling of I want to get better real quick, real quick, real quick, and so put in as much time as possible. But even more important than just the hours is also what you're doing during those practice hours. So are those quality practice hours? So here's the dichotomy. And there's likely I'm setting this up as a dichotomy. I realize that that there could be a whole range here, from one to the other, where you can fall somewhere along the spectrum. But here's the question you ask yourself: when I sit down to draw, are you actually focusing on learning and improving, or are you just drawing for fun? All right? That's the dichotomy I'm setting up, and you're probably somewhere on this range, right? But here's the deal. I think either of these options is fine. Either of these options are fine. Wherever you land on the spectrum, I think it's okay. But if you're asking about speed of improvement, it does make a difference where you are on the spectrum. Where you are on the spectrum determines how fast you will see improvement in your drawing. So let's kind of look at these two and talk about them a little bit. So, drawing for fun. Now, you've heard me say this over and over again in my videos if you've been subscribed here. And I say that drawing for fun is one of the most important things you can do, because if you're not having fun, you're probably not going to continue doing it, right? And if you're not doing it, then obviously you can't get better. And even when you are drawing for fun, you will still improve. So if you're totally just drawing for fun, my oldest kid right now, she's in the stage where she really just draws for fun. Is she improving as fast as she could? No, but that's fine because she's still improving, and especially at the younger age kids, I would probably even prioritize having fun over improvement. and that's just me. Maybe someday I'll talk about that, but that will be a tangent for now. So yeah, I think drawing for fun is perfectly fine, but you will have slower improvement because normally when you're drawing for fun, you're not intentionally learning from others, and a few other things that I'll talk about once I talk about drawing for improvement. They tend not to be in the drawing for fun mode. You tend to be, well, so I don't know how to say this without jumping into the drawing for improvement. So let's talk about drawing for improvement. I've talked about some of the things and did videos on some of the things that I found kind of give me those leaps forward in improvement. And so if you've been following my videos, you've heard me say some of these things, but I'll just mention them here briefly again. One of the things is slowing down, right? So you're not just speeding through your drawings, you're actually paying attention to what you're doing, paying attention to the marks you're putting on the paper. Basically, you're looking and analyzing what you're doing while you're doing it. And there is some improvement that you can gain by just slowing down and trying to get things right and fixing things before you move on. There's a certain amount of improvement that you will get from your drawing by doing longer drawings that won't come from doing faster drawings. Having said that, pendulum swings all the way to the other end, and speeding up is also a very important part of drawing for improvement, because just like slowing down, there are some things you learn. There's also this randomness that gets introduced into your drawing as you speed up that teaches you something and allows you to be more confident in how you draw that you just don't get when drawing slow. When you draw slow, you tend to be more tentative, more nervous, more scared, less confident sometimes. But speeding up, you learn to just go for it, right? Give it all you got. Just however this turns out, it's gonna turn out, but I have to beat the clock, right? So again, you notice the intentionality here. You're specifically trying to learn something. You're specifically trying to push yourself out of your comfort zone. And on one, you're focusing on trying to get things right. On the other, you're just trying to get it done. And when you see how it actually turns out, you go, oh wow, not as bad as I thought, which ups your confidence, allowing you to put down lines that are more confident. Repetition is another thing. Drawing the exact same thing again, trying to correct the things that you did before. If you're just drawing for fun, will you be drawing the same thing over and over again? Probably. And if you are, then you're probably doing repetition, which my daughter does a lot of right now. So again, that's why you will still see some improvement even when you're drawing for fun, because you can't escape some of these elements, right? And so, all right, yeah. So another one is taking courses. taking courses, you learn from other artists, learn how they've done it, how they've simplified things, which is important, and begin to incorporate some of those things into your own drawing. And you don't have to reinvent the wheel. If the wheel's there to show you how to make it, you do it, you got it, right? And so that's a big part of improving. And in terms of courses, and it was asked, what is a good place to start? If you are brand new, start with a course that covers fundamentals. And if you can find one that covers an area that you actually enjoy. So for me, it was figure drawing. I really liked figure drawing, and I found Proco's Figure Drawing Fundamentals course, which covered a lot of the fundamentals as well. And so that was a good starting point for me because it was fun. I had the fun side, and I also had a lot of learning, intentional learning. And so I was somewhere on that spectrum. Again, a lot of frustration in the early parts of that course. That was my first one. And yeah, that's all I'll say for now. But another point, and this is the last one that I'll say on this, is you have to experiment, right? Experimenting is important, and you try different things, push your limits, and that is how you find something new that you can incorporate into the rest of your drawings. And so these play, I think, a huge role in how fast you can improve. So yeah, I think there is a difference between the two. I think both are great. You will likely find yourself somewhere along the spectrum on either one of them. But it doesn't matter. It's fine. But it will affect the speed at which you improve. So sometimes you may find yourself drawing more for fun. Sometimes you may find yourself drawing more specifically to learn, and it's all good. And by the way, this also works for how you watch art videos. You can watch them just for fun, or you can watch them to learn. And I have actually learned a lot from art videos, and I think it's actually true that you can learn a lot even when you're not actually physically drawing, but that's for another time. So I've covered all of that. Is there a minimum amount of time that I think one should be spending practicing drawing? And the answer is yes. There definitely is a minimum amount of time, because drawing is just like any other skill, right? When I went through a phase where I was learning Spanish a little bit, and what I noticed about learning other skills, and this is even true about exercise, I'm exercising a lot now. In most skills, and drawing I think is no exception because I've seen it in my journey here, is that there are jumps in skill, right? So you're working at it, not seeing progress, and then boom, you take a step up and you notice the difference, and others notice the difference, and you work at it again and you see another jump in improvement. And another thing here about the minimum amount of time is that these jumps in skill, they're easier to maintain, so you need less time to maintain that level that you have achieved, but it takes a longer time. I was almost going to say more time, but let's just say a longer time to get a jump up to another level. It takes more effort, but sometimes if you're far on the scale where you are really just drawing for improvement, you may not necessarily need additional time in terms of the amount of effort and time per day, but over time you'll likely see another jump. But it's easier to maintain, so you can slack off a bit and still slacking off is probably not a good term, but you can lower the amount of hours you're doing and still maintain um, the level of art that you have achieved. And you probably hear like a lot of artists talk about this. If you listen to a lot of videos, they talk about now that they are I guess big name artists, they actually do less drawing but they're still really good because again, it's easier to maintain it. But if you're not hitting at least that minimum maintenance level, just like any other skill, your ability is going to start to degrade. And so you may drop a level. I think I have found that once you've achieved a certain level, it's difficult for you to drop down to no skill at all, to bare bone beginners again. Even for me with my Spanish, I haven't been practicing it as much, but every once in a while when I do interact with a Spanish speaker, I can still spit out a few phrases that makes them go, oh, nice. But I'm nowhere near where I used to be, and the same thing happens for skills like drawing. So, and in this case, in terms of minimums, I'm going to even skirt around the time issue and go to a consistency. So if you're doing 30 minutes a day, let's say 30 minutes every other day, I think you can probably see some improvement there. But the more important part of when you start hitting those minimums is the consistency. How consistent are you being over the long term? And the interesting thing about this is what I'm finding, even in life at least, this is what I'm telling my kids. They may grow up and find out that I'm all wrong, but I've found this to be true. The one key to almost everything in life you want to achieve is just the ability to do something consistently over a long period of time. And this is so simple, but it's actually it's simple to say. It's actually one of the most difficult things that I have found to do in life. To do something consistently over a long period of time. It's difficult. It's difficult. A lot of people try to look for different motivation, but as they say, your motivation kind of burns out and you reach the point where discipline just has to take over, right? So you get motivated, you watch an art video about a guy who started drawing and now he's seeing improvement, hint, hint. And you feel motivated to get going, right? Motivation only lasts for so long. And then it kind of burns out. And then you just need discipline, right? Which is really a tough thing. And if you've followed some of my other videos, you may have heard me say this before, but this is where I think the importance of having fun in drawing cannot be understated, because if you are having fun and enjoying something, then discipline, the thing that you need to continue, becomes less of an issue. Discipline becomes less of an issue because, again, we don't say that, oh, I'm so disciplined, I played the video game for 5 hours yesterday. We don't call that discipline, but it's discipline. We don't call it discipline because we were having fun, right? And because other people don't place value on it. But it is discipline, but you're having fun. And so, almost above everything else, I stress, try to find some level of fun and enjoyment in what you're doing. And so this whole video on how many hours you need to improve, yes, good information. I love nerding out on this. But even above all of that and improvement, it's try to find fun. Try to enjoy the process. Because if you can do that, you'll be able to do drawing consistently over a long period of time. And that's where the value and the real improvement really kicks in, regardless of where you're on the spectrum, right? So if you just focus on learning and you don't enjoy it, you're eventually going to burn out regardless of how much progress you're making. There has to always be an element of fun and enjoyment in it. So if you take nothing away from this video, try to find a way to enjoy the process. If you have questions or comments, well wishes for me to cover in the other videos as I go through the inking process for this and the alcohol markers, let me know in the comments. Looking forward to seeing you all. Subscribe if you haven't and join me on this journey. Looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye.